I would describe Pivot as a place of intense brotherly love.
It's a Christian substance abuse program.
Pivot is a spiritual boot camp.
Wonderful place of restoration.
The best, worst vacation you could ever have in your life.
A training ground for life.
Glory. Now Jesus brings a brand new day.
When a guy comes into Pivot, they come in all kinds of conditions. They come from all sorts of places. Some come out of jail, some come from hospitals, some come in from off the streets. Some come in high, some come in withdrawing.
Addiction itself is a disease of isolation, and the way that it works is, the disease will get you alone and by yourself, and that's when it really can kind of go in and finish people off.
So that's why it's important that we stay connected to one another in Pivot.
Somewhere you can come to build yourself up spiritually, physically.
When a problem drinker stops drinking, the problem ends. When alcoholics stop drinking, the problem begins.
And also get the tools that you need to understand what you're going through and how to overcome it.
I came in and I got hugged. I got a meal. I felt welcome.
When you enter Pivot, the major change you're making is coming out of isolation. The beginning part is being loved by Christ.
Unconditional love. We just pour out the love of Christ.
I'd never read the Bible before I came to Pivot. I didn't know anything about anything. And later on, I believed that God had brought me to my knees and made it so I had to make a choice. Right when I came, I showed up on a Friday and went to all-night prayer.
And Pivot was a foundation for me that taught me how to pray, how to study the Bible, and it was basically going to church for 20 years condensed into 9 months.
When I went to church, I could feel the presence of God, trying to guide me to a better place. And the light was there. My bishop always told me, can you see the light at the end of the tunnel? When you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you have seen the face of God.
The change part begins when there's structure and consistency and order put into a man's life. There's a lot of rules that go on where we begin right away, even if it's just putting a person in the framework of his room and being able to kind of organize that and restart a person up. That's when the change begins.
Pivot is a place of structure because that's what we need in our life, structure. We need structure because we, as drug addicts, we just lost all control of our life. When you get to the point where you rather work for 2 weeks and take your check and spend it on drugs rather than to pay your bills so that your family can live, you have lost control of your life.
Because here they are learning new rules, discipline, good things they gonna use in their entire lives.
If you mean business with yourself, that you want to get free, that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that you're tired of going around this merry-go-round that Mary got off a long time ago, then you enter the doors of Pivot, you're going to find freedom.
We were never meant to journey alone. We're to journey in community, and a lot of the men have gotten themselves in situations because they got into places where they were on their own and didn't have the structure supporting them.
There is power in the name of Jesus. Break every chain.
Once the person has got a little bit of understanding of discipleship, gets kind of on their feet health-wise together, we get them out into a community, connected back into other people, and now they're not isolated anymore.
We have such a growing number of young men that has been free from drugs for many, many years, and many of them are
involved in the community. They're involved in the church. We have pastors, we have evangelists, we have missionaries.
There is something that happens when a group of Pivot guys get together and either go to a church or go to a mission trip or show up at a community event to help out. It just changes the nature of the event, and it's an experience, it's a feeling of just being in fellowship with people.
Just the very presence of the Pivot House being here in Bridgeport is a testimony and says a lot. It says there's hope. It says that there is a better way, and it says that it's possible.
My second day at Pivot, I wanted to leave the program. And, you know, I had these guys who I didn't even know, didn't know me, who were students in the program, just kind of come around me and be like, hey, we've been there, we know what you're going through, and, you know, just stick it out, you're in a good place.
The main part of any person's life is to have a purpose, and service is a big part of it. But that purpose, that singleness of purpose, being able to have something in your life that just refocuses you and being about other people is the exact opposite of when you come in, where you're isolated and alone and about just yourself. When you leave here, you are a person with a purpose who's about others that's surrounded in a community. So it's a transformation process that takes place, but it's also rebuilding up something that you can contribute and carry with you for the rest of your life.
Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, had changed my life. Then I felt that certainly he could, if he did it for me, he can do it for others.
I've never been able to really actually be a person to help my community at all, and I feel like it's important for me to give back after I finish.
I always planned to come back to Pivot to do some type of give back because, you know, at first I felt it was because, well, that's the right thing to do. Pivot has made me excited to do it. That's a huge change. Doing something because you want to do it.
And every day I grow. Every day I get stronger. Every day he watches over me. Everything that I've learned here, it has a purpose. It has a place in your heart, my heart, that drives me to the point of no returning to that old style life, but continue to push forward to that higher calling.
To contribute to Pivot is just to be sure that anybody who wants help, who on their own says, hey, I give up, I surrender, I want help, there's a place for that person.
And I am grateful for those who trust and believe that a person can turn their life around. A person that will give us a second and third chance.
When you're on drugs, you're feeding and living off of other people. Where when you come through a ministry like Pivot House, where you get your life together, you go back out there in society, you become a productive husband, you become a productive father, you become a productive businessman.
Keeping these doors open and seeing these new brothers coming in, I got a job where I get to see lives changed every day, and it's because of the people that donate money. The ripple effect is way farther than they can imagine.
So a whole lot of people are affected by the success of people that leave this program.
There's a small but growing circle of families that have supported Pivot for many years.
I've seen mothers come to the Lord. I've seen sisters and brothers because of the conversion of their loved one. I think that impacts the whole community.
Pivot's given me the ability back to be a productive member of society or have a role in my family. I can be an older brother again. I can be a son who can be trusted. And I didn't have these things. I know a lot of us have lost these things, but we can get them back.
And Pivot wants to contribute also, so the men here actually contribute to their own sobriety through the benefits of working together, having an organized business plan, putting some sustainability and not being totally burdensome to people that are trying to support us.
And to see how Pivot takes these, I don't know, they make $1 out of 15 cents and they stretch it, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing to me how they do so much with so little.
Anytime we're investing in God's restoration project of restoring people back to their full identity and giving them a sense of purpose in life, to me that's a worthwhile investment.
There's a little light in the darkness that people can be drawn to, but there's a bunch of light keepers that for over 40 years have been keeping that light going. And there's been some tough times at Pivot, and there's been some incredibly faithful people that have kept that light on and kept the door open for continuously for a long period of time.
If I didn't enter Pivot back in 1985, there's no way in the world that you'd be talking to me here today. You know, and definitely, I can say that without a shadow of a doubt.
6 months after coming to Pivot, one of my close friends OD'd. I can probably say that chances are I would probably be very close behind him, either homeless or in a graveyard.
If it wasn't for these doors here, I know I wouldn't be no productive member of society.
Honestly, I think he'd either be dead or just on the street, homeless.
I don't think I would have a relationship with my kids, or my mother, or any of that. I don't.
He's a dad again. He was just like a friend before, but now it's like he's actually my dad. He'll actually yell at me if I need to be yelled at, and I never pictured me saying, yeah, my dad yells at me, I like that, that's good. But it's good to have a dad again, and he's definitely a new person.
Pivot saved my life. Plain and simple, in a nutshell, they saved my life.
If there were no Pivot Ministries, I'd be in a space without God in my life. And now I really can't imagine that. That'd be the worst.
I never knew what all this was going to line up to. But when I look over my shoulder, I can see how all the dots are connecting, how all the threads come together. And as I look forward, I can't connect the dots because I don't know what God has for me. But I've learned to trust Him.
My life was in shambles before I came here. And by coming here, God gave me a new life. A life that He wanted me to have all along. But I couldn't see that. But I see. I see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
Because of you.